for joining us. We got a hell of a show. We're going to get through it rather quickly, but I would be remiss if I didn't show you this. Let me show you something. This is our mother website, pntsnetwork.com. It's host to a whole gangbuster of gaming news, not just cloud news, but we got ultra 4K streams. Speaking of Forspoken, I personally put out a video giving my thoughts on the PS5 demo. We also talk about anime, hardcore martial arts. I just came across season 2 of what is that damn show? Gangs of London. Oh my God, this is some great TV. So far, so good. I'm 3 episodes in out of 8. This is some stellar TV. And if you like kick-ass TV, bloods and guts everywhere, man, you're gonna want to check this out. So it's got some martial arts involved. It's executive produced by Gareth Evans, the creative mind behind the Raid movies. So that might make our martial arts podcast along with some other stuff. So stay tuned for that. So we got a lot of content here going through pntsnetwork.com. Definitely come check it out. You don't want to miss it. And I would be remiss if not mentioning that today, for those of you that were fans of the Stadia platform, like myself, I was a huge fan of the Stadia platform because it made streaming games so much easier for me. Unfortunately, a lot of people argue it wasn't in the right hands. I'm going to talk about that later today. If you were a fan of streaming through Stadia, Stadia's closing out on the 18th. Come and join me later today around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as I give my final remarks live. And I do some streaming at the end of the day. All right. So that's cool and fantastic and all that good stuff. But let's get into the hardcore game. That's what you guys are here for, right? We got Vet in the house. What's up, my brother? For some reason, your comments aren't popping up right now. Hopefully they will soon. I don't know what the heck is going on, but hopefully they will soon. But shout out to my homie Vet Cloud Gaming. All right. So let's talk about it, y'all. Let's start off with the first topic, which is Xbox is not having the best 2023 so far. A lot of people may say, MM2K, you're capping. I love Halo Infinite. I love Game Pass. Xbox is killing it to me. That's fine and dandy. If you, in no way, shape, or form is the purpose of any of my content to pry you away from something that you like. The only thing that I'm trying to illustrate is that as far as longevity and as far as future proofing and a lot of that stuff, you're being told one thing when in actuality something else is going on. Okay? I'm not a fortune teller. I don't know where the cards may lay once this dust settles. But normally we have a great pulse on this stuff. A lot of the things we've already predicted, like Microsoft would be out there buying studios to keep Game Pass honest, to avert the fact that they're not the greatest at curating games and building studios themselves. This new regime isn't. We also predicted that, hey, Mike Ybarra might want to chill out on his Xbox, subliminal shots, because you never know. Phil Spencer might be your boss. I mean, and there's some shaky things going on with this ABK deal, but they can pull a rabbit out of the hat, make this thing happen. That's what's going to happen. And so many other things. You know what I mean? That normally when you see something, unless you're dealing with a company like Google, who's just a complete wild card, and you never want to be too confident when it comes to Google. RIP Stadia. But as I've learned. But when you're dealing with companies that in a certain type of realm deal in some type of normalcy, normally when you see certain things, they mean certain outcomes. So that's the only thing that we're trying to provide you with here. If you're like the biggest, staunchest Xbox fan, is be very cautious of what you're being told opposed to what's likely happening. And because of the likelihood of what's actually happening, a lot of things that we're going to talk about today that we tried to talk to you guys in early 2022 about, but you weren't trying to hear. Well, we've been trying to talk to you for a while. You weren't trying to hear it. But besides all that, what we want you guys to do is realize that this may be the year that you're going to have to come out of pocket and really hold your feet to the fire for longevity. Like all this, hey, look, we're going to create this extra buffer for Phil because the PlayStation people just want to hate on him. Y'all might have to forget about all that, because what I'm about to show you does not look good. All right? Not at all. Let's get into it. So just to start things off, I got this courtesy of our good friend Matt Piscatella. He's from NPD Group. And NPD Group, they are of the largest group that monitors activity in North America, which is the largest consumer-based group or locale for console gaming. So he breaks down the numbers as far as items being sold, consumer stuff, just to show you who is on top, who is the head honchos, and what's successful and what falls flat, right? So in that market, we really have three consoles. If you could consider Switch a console, even though we don't talk about Switch here, but we got three units, right? We got PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. Now, it's no secret that Xbox got its rear end handed to it last generation, and they're trying to rebound from that, right? And you keep hearing, oh, this time is going to be different. This time is going to be different. So when you say different, what that means is it's going to be more competitive, right? Like, instead of Xbox being decimated and being in last place, you're straddling second. You're on the heels of first. You and PlayStation and Nintendo are swapping places. That's what we are expecting when we hear things are going to be different. We don't expect, oh, PlayStation sold 100 units. Nintendo sold 120 units. Xbox sold 40 units, but last time they only sold 30. No, that's still last place. What we're looking for is a more competitive edge to Microsoft this time around. And the way I was told before the generation even kicked off, I was told that from the very beginning, it was going to be different. I keep being told 2022 is the year of Xbox. 2023 is the year of Xbox. I was told earlier on in 2022 that when Xbox was winning a string of NPDs back to back to back, see, things are different now. Even though the only reason that was showing that Xbox was winning is PlayStation had a supply constraint, a serious supply constraint. And once that supply constraint was resolved, the sky's the limit for PlayStation, and the limit was the sky. You can take the same words, swap them around, and they sound totally different depending on who you're talking about. And the limit's the sky for Xbox. So let's start off talking about 2022. All right, let's go into 2022. Let's do a quick recap. This is Matt Piscatella, the homie, and he's breaking down the December numbers. And again, for those of you that are newer to this, that come from the cloud side and like MM2K, oh, what you doing over here? And you trying to follow what's going on over here. Please don't be part of the bunch that laughed at NPD. Like NPD were nobodies. That type of rhetoric doesn't get you in the club, all right? Gets you nowhere near VIP, you don't even get in the club with that type of rhetoric. NPD is the litmus, right? And I'm gonna talk about how much of a litmus they are because something peculiar is going on. It could just be me, but something peculiar is going on. Matt Piscatella drops this information where it not only gives the December amounts of NPD, but it gives all of 2022. And he talks about, hardware dipping and stuff like that and gives you a variety of things. But I noticed this David Xander had put out numbers because in all this thread that Matt put out here, none of it talked about what were the best-selling consoles, which is the main thing that people come for. It's not mentioned here at all. And I thought it was odd. Now, the month previous, he didn't even post it here. He posted it on LinkedIn. Like, what the hell is going on here? So we look at that, and somebody said here that, as far as units sold, Switch was number one in units sold. And as far as dollars made, PS5 was number one in dollars made. Xbox was last place in every single litmus. In both litmuses for 2022. Last place. I remember in 2022 having conversations with people like my good friend David Jaffe. They were back and forth. I can show them. I'm not going. Where I think in 2022, PlayStation revealed its lineup. Right, it's PlayStation Essential, which it's not. It's not earth shattering. You know what I'm saying? It didn't bring the masses from out of the caves into signing up for PlayStation Plus Essential, right? But that's okay, don't need to. PlayStation is taking baby steps when it comes to this cloud integration and this game subscription stuff. Why? Because the most successful subscription model is not Game Pass. It's the most successful game rental subscription model, but the biggest subscription model out there, PlayStation already owns. So they're not in a rush to sit there and mold out this new lane of a subscription model that may not be that lucrative for them. And it's only number one in that particular arena for Xbox because Xbox has put an exuberant amount of money in there. They're putting a ridiculous amount of money in there for its placement. And PlayStation is looking at that and they're like, it doesn't make any sense for us to do that. It's like Xbox is trying to utilize its money to build a path for this. So they're going to take the L financially, even though I know Xbox said, it's profitable for us. I beckon back to what Colin Moriarty said a few months ago, where he said, if you're looking at Xbox getting MLB or something like that and putting it in the subscription service and taking the cost of getting those games versus how much money they pulled in, yeah, it might be sustainable that way, or it might be on the plus side that way, or it might be in the black that way. But when you factor in that their AAA efforts like Starfield, Halo Infinite, these games that cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make and market are thrown in there, there's no way it's out of the red. And I'm with Colin Moriarty on it. That's just common sense. And especially when you look at a year like 2023. When you look at a year like 2023, where you got Redfall, you got Forza, and you got Starfield coming, you're trying to tell me those expensive efforts going directly into Game Pass, you factor in the development there, and then just to prove to you, right? Just to prove to you that that's bogus. What did Microsoft do? They're telling you that before these games release, if you buy them a la carte, they're now going to be $70. So that shows you that they got to make up the money somewhere. So yeah, if you look at Game Pass as a subscription to where they're buying games to be in there for X amount of time, there's revenue and all that other stuff, okay, maybe they're in the black there. But again, when you factor in Xbox's own games, it's mathematically impossible without me having to do any pull out any scratch paper or do any mathematical equations. I don't see it, especially in a year like 2023. Like, no way. All right. So, but going back to when people were like, yeah, PlayStation had to mimic Xbox. No, they didn't. They already have the most successful subscription model, which is PlayStation Plus. There's more subscribers there than there are Xbox Live Gold. Xbox Live Gold is actually second. Xbox Live Gold is second. But that's why in 2021, I believe it was, Xbox raised the prices of Xbox Live Gold. They tried to do it in this very, it blew up in their face, but in this crazy way. And there was pushback. And then they just slid it in there slyly. And it's going, because they're trying to force you on the Game Pass. Most of their budgeting and stuff like that is really going into Game Pass. So they would rather have you in Game Pass, fold Xbox Live Gold in there some way, or just get rid of those damn games that are Xbox Live Gold games. They would rather just get rid of those to save some money and just have you going off the Game Pass subscription. But people refuse it. They don't want it. The average Game Pass is not a solution for the average gamer. The average gamer only plays about 2 games a year. And then they have like maybe a total of 7 to 10 games in their catalog for that generation. See, you and I are not average gamers. Cold Blood Sensei in the house. How's your traveling in Spain, brother? I can't put your comments up here for some reason. Ticker. What was show only subscriber messages? Hold on. No. I don't know what's going on here. All right, let me go back. Let's go to host view. Let's go back to the dashboard. I don't know what's going on. Chat. Why is the chat pause? Oh, okay. That's weird. All right. Ron Slusher in the house. But that is the problem. The problem is, hold on, let me fix something. I got to fix one thing because I just realized something. Why? You know how we were always wondering why this thing was so dark? Well, thanks to, there we go. Thanks to stupid ass Streamlabs, they added in a new function that automatically makes it dark unless you. It's Streamlabs. Anywho, yo, thank you Cold Blood Sensei, thank you, my good brother. I appreciate it. Thank you for the subscription, man. I appreciate it, man. All your support. But that's the thing. I'm with Colin Moriarty there. He's just, and everybody tried to jump down his throat, but the fact of the matter is that it's mathematically impossible. When you add in Xbox's games and now that they're buying, like, can you imagine, like, if they do get ABK? They're definitely not in the red. I mean, they're not out of the red when it comes to Game Pass if those games are folded in. So that's why they even came out and said, well, you know what? Game Pass was only supposed to be maximum 15% of our... No, it wasn't. That's a freaking lie. Game Pass is only 15% of our maximum profit. No, if that was the case, then they wouldn't have tried to force you off of Xbox Live Gold into Game Pass. So you know that's a lie. That's a lie. And again, I'm not trying to get you not to like Xbox. I'm just trying to get you to understand this is a Fortune 500 company and you can't lap up everything that they tell you just for the sake of what PlayStation people are saying across the street. You're only setting yourself up for your own demise when you do that. That was a lie. And again, as we told you, those first few months when they were winning NPDs because PlayStation's stock was short, supply was short, meant nothing. Because even though they had all those months and Satya Nadella came out there and said all that stuff, look at what happened. Let's show it. Switch was number one in units sold. PlayStation 5 second. Dollars, PlayStation 5 Switch second. Guess who was in last place in both litmuses? Xbox. So no, PlayStation doesn't have to do what Xbox is doing. I get that a lot of you that have ADD when it comes to games. Oh, let me play this. Oh, I'm not done with that. Hold on, let me play this. I understand that y'all love Game Pass. So y'all want to play Pizzle Fizzle Tizzle Popper and then jump on Toady Toadstool and the Toady Tutus. And then you want to sit there and play Bobby Doodad and the Grappling Hook. I don't. These games that you guys are playing on Game Pass are beyond me. But I get that y'all want to play these games. Y'all just want to jump. Let me. But the average gamer doesn't want to do that. 2 games a year, 7 to 10 games total in their catalog. You're not hooking them with a subscription service like that unless you have a Call of Duty and a Madden or, you know what I'm saying, games like that. And that's why that ABK deal becomes so important, because it salvages Game Pass. It then makes Game Pass no longer a novelty for the niche hardcore, but it makes it a mainstream contingent because it has Call of Duty in it. So that ABK deal is very important to them. But as far as back to 2022, everything that we told you to stop falling on that sword. David Jaffe, love him to death, man. He's one of the most entertaining Mojo MFers out there. I don't know what it is. I don't know if someone shows up at his house at night with an M16 and a machete. You better say some good shit about Game Pass. I don't know what it is, because he's a smart guy. He understands that the management philosophy over at Xbox is trash. He told us that himself. And as the maker of God of War and someone that is really embedded in making some great games and understanding gamers, he should understand that the average gamer is not going to lap up Game Pass because they don't want to play a whole bunch of effing games. They want to play the games that they like, and they don't like a whole bunch of games, period. Gaming is quite different than TV, where we'll sit there and binge watch this. Oh, what's the latest show? No. When it comes to the average gamer, they know what they like, they play what they like, and that's what they stick with. They journey here and there, or what holds their decision to a platform is knowing that the best-selling games are there, just in case they want to opine. Just in case they want to opine. Okay, it's like when people go buy a cell phone. This camera can do this and do that. 99% of the people that buy those phones because of those capabilities don't use them. But the fact that they know that they're there, it adds value to them mentally. So in case if they ever wanted to indulge, there it is. That's why a lot of people buy PlayStation. PlayStation is known for having the best games. So even though all I do is play Call of Duty and NBA 2K, if I want to opine in Spider-Man, if I want to indulge in God of War, it's there. Not no rabbit. Oh, I can play Fizzle on Game Pass, and it's only 33 cents a month or whatever that. No. We try to warn you and tell you to get away from that rhetoric. You didn't listen. Now we go into 2022. I'll show it to you one more time just in case. Maybe you eating an egg roll or something. You weren't looking up at your screen. Look at that. Xbox is last in everything. If Xbox is last in everything, explain to me why PlayStation has to follow them. Anybody? Somebody? Your words are out there. You said this all through 2022. Xbox and PlayStation is surely, remember y'all were saying that? PlayStation is surely in trouble. In trouble where? It's so bad. Listen to this. This is how ridiculous a lot of you, not all of you, not our followers, because you guys are smart, but how ridiculous a lot of you were. The thing that you said PlayStation had to follow, Xbox no longer has confidence in it anymore. Your Game Pass was only supposed to be 15% of our grand overall revenue. Remember that? Phil broke your hearts with that. Oh, ooh. He broke y'all little hearts with that. Ooh, I could just feel your hearts hit to the pit of your stomach when he said that. How many different strategies and rope-a-dopes do y'all have to go through before y'all realize that this regime is just trash? They're horrible. I'm not going to stop. That's just 2022. Let me get in some comments and I'm going to get back to the show here, to the Scream Fest. The homie Cold Blood Sensei said he's sweating in Spain, man. But at least you there, man. Shoot, a lot of people like myself. Ron Slusher in the house says, Starfield better be the biggest game of all time or Michael. Bruh. Great minds think alike. Let's go back here. I said that Starfield has to be at least a 93 Metacritic. And I'm not saying Metacritic is a good measure of what makes a game good or not. No, they miss the mark a lot of times. But they need that critical acclaim game that not only does see some commercial success, but they need a phenomenon. They have not had a phenomenon in a generation. They need a phenomenon. They had Halo with the first Xbox. The second Xbox, they had Halo. Mass Effect, BioShock, even though those were timed exclusives, but they changed the game with the 360. And then they came out with the Xbox One, and under Phil's regime, nothing but duds. And some games are like, oh, okay, that was a good experience. But they need a phenomenon. They haven't had one since the 360 days. So Starfield, which seems like their biggest competent game, has to be a 93 or above. Because then that sets a bunch of dominoes, a domino effect that then tells people, okay, Xbox threw a lot of stuff at the wall and it didn't stick. But this thing with Bethesda is sticking. And Xbox managing a game studio does make them better. Because I imagine, one thing I will give Xbox is that when this game releases, it's not going to be the atypical buggy Bethesda game. I will give that to them. Does that automatically make it a 93? No. So if you can get a great Bethesda game that isn't riddled with bugs at the beginning, then that starts changing the conversation. Oh, okay. So these guys do have some hope. Vet says, what's a Game Pass? Cold Blood says, Ron Slusher, everybody said that about Halo, nothing happened. They will still defend Xbox with their lives. I'm going to tell you this much, Cold Blood. I talked about it last week. We talked about Paris last week, and my bad again for misunderstanding what you were saying to me. But you listen to Paris, and y'all beat the brakes off of him, man. He's talking with sense, without the rhetoric, the self-indulge, these are my opinions, but I'm going to state them as facts type of rhetoric. Even he, now granted, to your point, Cold Blood, he was the one who most predominantly said Halo is going to define Xbox. And granted, some variables did change, like they bought Bethesda. He said that before they bought Bethesda. They bought Bethesda. And then there was all this hoopla about Game Pass. So we'll see. But I think that the temperature in the room now is this ABK deal is not guaranteed. And so if this ABK deal doesn't go through, Xbox is going to have to show that they can manage studios, manage what they have like PlayStation. So you bring up a very valid point, Cold Blood. I would only counter argue ever so slightly that the temperature in the room might be different this time. Because, I mean, this ABK deal, I mean, Xbox just proved that it was lying to its consumers about a whole bunch of stuff. xCloud is powered by Azure, but they get in front of the CMA. Oh, no, we ain't moving on. We don't use Azure for that. Game Pass is Game Pass is going to change gaming and all this other stuff. Oh, no. Game Pass is only 15% of our revenue. And so many other things that I think if the ABK deal was locked and loaded and ready to go, the Xbox fanboys, predominantly would have looked past that. But now you done said these truths to be self-evident, to prove that you were lying, and the deal isn't going through? Like, they can't. They have nothing left to lean on except, if you lay your PlayStation on the side, it might burn up and destroy it and destroy the village. That's the only thing they got to lean on. Callisto Protocol ain't sell well. That's not a PlayStation game. They sent their techs to make the game perform better on PlayStation, and it did. They did their job. They didn't send writers there. Right? Right. And this is just a litany of things that I believe Ron Slusher is putting up here. PlayStation VR 2, cloud support, Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, The Last of Us on HBO. Sony is just getting started. GFN might be a better option than Xbox. No, it is a better option. When you're talking about for the cloud, oh, look, I ain't got to hold my tongue over here. I ain't got to hold my tongue over at HNDC. I love my Cloud Dosage brothers and them, and everybody over at Cloud Dosage, they love Xbox, man. So when I get to my Xbox rhetoric, they start pulling out their shanks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't feel safe. Now, I can say what I want here. I'm going to tell you right now, Xbox is not an option in the cloud. I've seen people write stuff like Xbox is the best hope in the cloud. I don't, you know what? Look, man, you got a hold of some stuff that Cheech and Chong would cherish. No, there's no way. There's no way. Like, for instance, I use a scenario. I love spaghetti, right? I made some last night. Me and my wife made some spaghetti last night. She loves it. I love spaghetti, right? But if you use some old meat that's mildewed and for the sauce, you use ketchup, I don't like spaghetti that bad. Like, there has to be a standard. And Xbox falls like when you talk about the future of cloud gaming, Xbox is the worst example of that. And people are saying, well, the catalog. You don't need xCloud in order to experience the catalog. You can get an Xbox to experience the catalog. That's not what's making cloud gaming great. Like, for instance, even though what's making GFN great is not just the games that they have on there, but the way that they make the games look and perform. Like, it has to be what your cloud implementation is adding to those games. And Xbox is adding nothing to these games. Actually, they make the experience even worse. Stadia made your experience with playing these games was better. They had Stream Connect. They had some other things. It boot up quick. It was portable. It was, it was reliable. Even Amazon Luna. Xbox is horrible. It's trash. There's nothing that xCloud is doing in adding its version of cloud experience to enhance your gaming experience. Everybody else has. Xbox makes it worse. And because it's so piss poor, their moniker has to be, well, at least you can experience the game until you download it on. Now it's a sampler table. Where everybody else is like, no, we're a full-fledged standalone platform. xCloud is arguing they're a sampler table. Do not come to me with I don't want to hear it, any argument about xCloud adding something. Well, they said they got Kojima and he's going to make a cloud. When I see it, I'll believe it. All right. So then there's that about Xbox in 2022. Let's go into 2023, where, let me see if I can find it. Okay. Whoops, I can't even spell. Okay. You know what? Let me do this. Oh, crap. NVIDIA, Xbox, Google. The link address. Let's put this baby up here. Then there's this, which I almost forgot about. Google and NVIDIA share concerns on Xbox and Activision Blizzard deal. So that happens. Well, but then before that, what happened? The CMA got involved. The CMA said that they were going to sue. They got concerns over the Xbox deal, and they were going to sue to try to potentially sue to stop the deal. right? And what else you got going on? Now, on top of that, and again, mind you, everybody, this is just January. The Microsoft Activision saga continues. Activision Blizzard saga continues. Now the EU is reportedly preparing a list of concerns that it will share with Microsoft. So supposedly, Microsoft has a way, supposedly, to try to close this deal by ramrodding approval from EU and CMA and getting it done before Linda Khan and company over at the FTC can actually file a suit to block it, because there's no suit right now. They just expressed intentions or raised concerns or something like that, right? So they're trying to ramrod speed this through, and now EU was like, no. Before we take a further step, we're putting these concerns out here. So the fact that they're willing to do that says a lot about how much they're digging and how unwilling they are to speed up this process on behalf of Microsoft. Like, this is serious to them. A deal of this magnitude, the fact that Microsoft waffled in its communication so much, like Microsoft look, Microsoft, this Xbox regime is not good at console war stuff. They need to stay out of it. They need to just do whatever is good for business and sell it later to the Xbox gamer. Because at the end of the day, they're going to eat whatever Xbox sells anyway. They're going to mumble and groan for a little bit, but then they're going to eat it. Somebody's going to come up with some excuse. They're going to eat it. If Microsoft wasn't roaming around here talking about this isn't about taking games away from players and stuff like that, and then going on and doing a show after they close the deal and say, we didn't buy these, we bought these to basically take games away. If they didn't waffle like that, if they would have just kept their mouths shut, and it was just you just saw as things happen, this wouldn't have happened. Pretty much, this wouldn't have happened. They could have played this see if game, the maybe game. Right now, we don't have plans to release Starfield on PlayStation. We're always in continued talks with PlayStation. But y'all had to play this console war. Y'all aren't good at it. So you set yourself up. All right. So there goes that. And then last but certainly not least, we talked about this. Why can't I find my cursor? Did the screen freeze up on me? Uh-oh. Can't find my damn cursor. Oh, crap. Well, this is strange. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay, now it's popped up. What the? Oh, because I'm using. Oh, dear Lord, help me. I'm using the wrong mouse. I have two computers set up. I'm not even going to get into why. And I was using the wrong mouse. So you have to excuse me. All right. All right. So there's this, which would really be the nail in the coffin if, I don't want to say the nail in the coffin, but this would make things even worse. That's not going to be the nail in the coffin. if this comes out later in the year and it can compete with Marvel Spider-Man, because you know that's coming out later in the year, and whatever else Sony got coming out, then, you know, hey, Starfield possibly delayed out of half one and may now launch this summer. Yeah, I think they want to keep Starfield out of the end of the year and may launch it in the summer, but summer games don't usually do that well. And then you're talking about a game that's going to go directly into Game Pass. Oh my God. That's why they really wanted it to launch in the first quarter of 2023. And it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they're really going to get impacted on sales. So this is not good for Xbox. My message to you, if you are a diehard Xbox gamer, is, again, my message is not to steer you away from the platform. Not at all. My message is not to steer you away from the platform. My message is to say now, you have to do your job as a consumer. Let me stop the music for a second. Wrongly so, you guys that are staunch Xbox fans that are on Twitter, you've been sold this bag of goods that Xbox is your home team. You can't criticize your home team. You deal with what your home team has to offer and you cheer them on. That's how you handle a sports team. Like, you're born into a certain region, wherever that team is. You don't, go, oh, this quarterback or this power forward or whoever, or this soccer player or whatever, they suck. When you're talking to the competition, when you're talking to other teams, it's, our team is when we play, we're going to kick your ass. You know what I'm saying? You're always glorifying your team because that team represents pride in your region, in your area, pride to be a Pittsburgher, the Steelers, pride to be a this or that, you know what I'm saying? Pride in a specific region, you know what I mean? To help glorify you as someone in that area. So when you buy tickets, when you show up, all of that is because of support. You're trying to garner support up for your area. That's the purpose of sports teams anyway. I mean, people love to watch sports, but ultimately, the reason why teams are attached to locales is because that's the best way to garner up support, is to attach it to a locale, because then that locale benefits from that team. That's why these locales spend hundreds of millions of dollars on stadiums, because they get to tax them. People come there and travel. So you're building up your area by supporting that team no matter what. You're not buying a commodity or whatever. Everything is support of that area, that growth of your locale. This is different. This is gaming. This is a consumer product. You can celebrate gaming by having gaming events. You can even celebrate a platform. Damn it, we're going to celebrate the death RIP of Stadia later today. And you can show pride in that you are happy playing that platform. But under no circumstances should you feel like you're forced into consuming something and obliging by something and announcing something that doesn't serve you as a consumer. You're not obligated to them. You're not helping out your locale. They're not writing checks to your family. They're not writing checks to your city. You're not benefiting from them in any auxiliary way like you do a sports team. Those taxes that your locale absorbed from the ticket sales, that builds better schools, better water treatment, better roads. You don't get none of that from supporting Xbox. This is not a team. It's a consumer product. And as smarter consumers, those that'll be on Twitter all day and looking up this and looking up that, y'all should do better for the simple fact that there are consumers that don't know better as much as you do, and they're looking up and listening to you. And you're reinforcing all this pie in the sky stuff because someone else that bought another product or service is talking stuff on yours. So what? Give you a prime example. And I see my brother's comments down below where he's like, here, let me fix this. I got to get rid of these filters. Edit filters. I put these filters on her and I don't need these now. Because I figured out what was the problem. My brother, Cold Blood Sensei, he says, oh, hell no, Moss. We're not going to cap for Stadia. Stop it. I got to mention Stadia again. When Stadia closed down SG&E, I understood why they did it after doing research and finding out that it was the more sensible move because Stadia was biting off more than it can chew. I never understood why they were building their own game studios. I thought they were going to utilize their technology, work with other game studios that are proven that already know what they're doing and say, hey, you know, can you make us this game? How can you use this technology? We got some ideas. But they went and built their own studios, which to me was stupid. Because this is a cloud platform, a 1% business, and the amount of money that goes into exclusives will never be justified by a 1% business. You got to do what everybody else is doing right now, which is just enhancing the current game experience and just making sure that you get the stuff that people want to play and making it accessible to that 1 to 5% market that couldn't normally buy a console. And you just piggyback off of that and you just grow with that CAGR from year to year to year. Google started off with this stupid strategy that they can straddle in between the massive mainstream media gaming sector and the cloud. They thought they could find a wedge in between them, which was stupid. It was dumb. And they recognized that, okay, we got to bring this down a little bit. No other cloud platform has their own studios. We got to swallow our pride and bring ourselves back down to where everybody else is at, between 1 to 5%. We're not going to be 10, 15% of the business at this juncture, right? Especially not with the stupid ass commercials they had. But I digress. You know what I'm saying? They were brought back down to reality and they closed those studios appropriately. I feel like they should have kept the AI stuff, but whatever. But the way that they communicated it was so god awful that despite people across the street saying, yeah, you know, Stadia this, Stadia that, I didn't sit there and say, you know what, Stadia is my favorite platform. I want to see it flourish. I'm going to treat them like the Baltimore Ravens and praise everything that they do. No, I lambasted them for 2 weeks. It got to the point to where my supporters contacted me behind the scenes and said, MM2K, this is enough. If you want me to continue to follow you, this is enough. And I said, look, I understand where you guys are coming from. I respect your opinions, but understand this. I am not beholden to any company. If I'm liking a company and I really like what they're doing, I like what they're doing for the people, so they will get my full-throated support. But as soon as they go against that, they will feel my wrath. That's just the way that I work. So if you feel like you got to unfollow me, because this is not going to stop until they fix it. And some people unfollowed. They followed back after the fact, because what ended up happening is what? Stadia came out with a better statement, didn't fix everything. It wasn't going to, because the media had an agenda towards them anyway, but whatever. It didn't fix everything, but it made a lot of people comfortable that were like, well, hold on. I like this thing, but this is just stupid. This is just gaming, but it's a consumer product. It is not a team. They are not fixing your roads. They are not giving better hardback books to your kids. You are not obligated to root for them no matter what. When they mess up and they screw up, you as a consumer, and for your fellow gamers that don't know any better, I feel like you're more obligated to speak up as someone who is a fan of the service and know when they're missing the mark. When you don't do that, you are a failure as a gamer in a community. Because before I'm anything, I'm a gamer first. And if I don't feel like you're working for the people, you can't get my vote. I cannot be compromised. As long as I feel like you're doing good by the people, you will get my full support. The moment that changes, I cannot be compromised. That should be the mind state of every gamer. So whether you favor PlayStation and you holler their praises, or you favor Xbox or Nintendo, it should be because they are hitting all the major litmuses that you need as a gamer. And when they're falling short, you bring it up. Now, one thing I will give the PlayStation Nation, they can be a little kooky every now and again, but one thing that I will give the PlayStation Nation is that when PlayStation is falling off of a litmus that they feel is important, they dig in that ass. They do not play. They will call out Jim Ryan. They will saute and fillet everybody. And I feel like the Xbox community feels like more that they're orchestrating their design and that their purpose is to make excuses for Phil. This is not working. You are in last place. You're still in last place. Nothing is changing. Well, we're in lesser last place than we want. No! It doesn't work like that. Until you put their feet to the fire, all of your hopes and aspirations will go up in flames. Period. Say what I had to say about that. Let's go to the chat. Vet Cloud Gaming says, let me go back to this slide. It says PlayStation about to smack Xbox back to the OG days of Xbox. It's this regime, man. And if I can say something, Phil gotta go. Like I'm gonna tell y'all this much. There is no more playing. Y'all can't keep sitting in last place and say, well, they're still making money. How is that helping you again? This is not a football team. It's not a basketball team. You're not getting anything for this. This is going in their pockets and their pockets only. Well, they send rice paste over to Thailand. That ain't got nothing to do with the tea in China. You are not to support them in that type of fashion like there's some team. That's ridiculous. That's why when I hear flip-flopper, to me, that's stupid. Whoever's doing great, they get the kudos. And if the company that you were with are not hitting marks and they're ignoring those marks, it's different if they're going through a turnaround, they're going through something. That's different. But if you or ignoring things that someone is consistently saying, this is what I need as a consumer, then you're obligated to leave. It's not the opposite. I'ma stay. You don't do nothing what the hell I asked you for, but I'm gonna keep paying you and stay. To me, that's an insanity that I cannot fathom. And I know people who were Xbox fans from the very beginning, really built the foundation for Xbox on YouTube. Next Gen 720. Who had every right, after years and years and years of bringing up things that are relevant now, for him to abandon it and say, well, I can't support this. You're supposed to, this is not a team. This is not built to make you feel good about your purchase. If you need to go to the internet, and this is what kills me. This is grown ass men and women who have to go to the internet to feel good about their purchase and enjoy some game. Like this is the Warriors roaming the streets of Twitter like y'all the Warriors. If you gotta belong to a gang in order to validate your purchase mentally, you need a CAT scan. You like what you like. And if you're not getting service, and you're not getting service for a while, you are not to ignore their shortcomings. Why? Because this is not a team that's designated or designed that's going to benefit your locale anyway. If anything, they're going to continue to take from you and fellow gamers and do what they want to do so they get paid and they just skate off with the money. It's absurdity. I don't get it. Cold Bless says, absolutely, we ain't allowing Sony to give us dog-ish and expect that we remain silent. Absolutely. I done seen the PlayStation Nation go after Jim Ryan, and I'm not talking about the kooky stuff where we come into the building and we doing it. I'm just like Jim Ryan. Hey, do you got to get fired, Bucko? You know what I mean? It's about the cause. It's about the expectations. It's about the gaming expectations, where I feel like Xbox, you guys are shooting yourselves in the foot as a community because you're making it about Phil. Get over it, man. If Starfield, look, let me tell you one thing. If Starfield doesn't blow minds, or if Xbox cannot produce a game that gets Last of Us, God of War type of acclaim, if they can't do it after a generation and a half, and they lose out on this APK deal, Phil has to go. That's it. That is it. There's no other answer. It's a failure in leadership. He has to go. There's no, if both of those things happen, the APK deal falls through because it was his idea. They have that stupid ass sit down with Bethesda where he announced, "Oh, this is all about bringing games exclusive to Game Pass." If he would have never said that shit, 95% of this blood, and just would have played it cool cat and was like, we have no information right now, Starfield, and said we could care less about the chatter out there. You know, J-Dub out there saying, watch Starfield is coming to PlayStation. If y'all don't know how to come back and say, we'll see it, we'll believe it when we see it. Oh no, Phil, you got to come out here and definitively say it to make me feel good about my Xbox purchase. Make me feel good. I sound like sick Halle Berry's out here. Monster Ball. Make me feel good. If he would have shut his goddamn mouth and never said that, I believe the vast majority of this crap that they're dealing with right now with the APK deal wouldn't be happening. They would be making arguments, but they would be less potent. Y'all did this, man. So horrible start to 2023. And this is only January, man. There's this what's it called that's coming when January 5th or 25th with Redfall. I'm not impressed by Redfall, but that's me. Y'all say that Redfall is this and that, and always getting this critical acclaim. Arcane games always get critical acclaim. They do poor sales wise. I think the best selling game that they had is Deathloop. And guess who that was a time exclusive for? Hold on one second. So we got to see what's going to happen, man. But the ball is in your court, Xbox fan. You are not obligated. I don't care what personalities are out there. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of them that are my friends. I love them to death, but don't let them goat you into treating Xbox like the damn Giants or the Lions or the Ravens or something like that. Like, no. You are a consumer. If Xbox is not delivering, voice your problem and be ready to move elsewhere you're being served. Be ready to you know how difficult it was? Because I'm someone that likes to, that's why when I was listening earlier about a lot of people are upset that Suicide Squad might be a games as a service game. Y'all know me. I love saying games as a service game. I'm hardcore in my understanding of what's going on with games and understanding the lore and the culture. But when it comes to games that I play, like I'll touch a lot of stuff to talk or give my thoughts about it. But what I actually enjoy is I'm like a casual. There's only like a couple of games a year, maybe 3 that I'm looking to hunker into. So I enjoy games as a service game. My favorite game is The Division 2. So I go into Division 2, play that more often than not, because that's the game that I feel most comfortable with and hits the bells and whistles for the things that I want. You know what I mean? But a lot of people felt some type of way about that. But I feel like I'm more of a casual when it comes to that, to the games that I enjoy and the games that I select. So it's just a matter of you're not letting people tell you, oh, you gotta like this and you gotta appreciate this only. And no, you like what you like. And if Xbox is not delivering for you, or if any company isn't delivering for you, then you got to move on. And you got to be ready to make that move. I love hunkering into games and services too, and platforms. Xbox has been in my house almost 20 years. This is the first time that an Xbox has not been powered on and used that I did not buy an Xbox. I've always, for the last, I want to say the first OG Xbox I didn't get at launch. But every Xbox, even mid-gen refresh, after that, I've gotten on release day. No. I'm lying. I didn't get the Xbox One on release day. But I got the Xbox One X on release day. And I got the S on release day. Every Xbox, you know what I mean? I got the 360 on release day. The Xbox One I got like a year after when it had the Division bundle. Because I was still rocking my 360. But it's time, like, don't worry about them across the street, man. There's a standard that Xbox, and it would be different if Xbox didn't set this standard. They already won. And I know people going cold blood's going to argue, no, they ain't win the PlayStation 3 generation. Yes, they sold more software during that time frame when that generation was active. I get that after the fact, 7 years later, PlayStation 3 ended up selling more software. The generation was over. And we'll give credit where credit is due. PlayStation 3 just, was more durable over the years. It reminds me of the Michael Jordan versus LeBron James argument. Yes, LeBron James has more great years playing basketball than Michael Jordan. He was more durable. But Michael Jordan, when he was at his height, he was untouchable. He achieved things that LeBron James couldn't dream of. And so when that 360 PlayStation 3 generation was relevant, and Xbox cared about it, Xbox dominated that generation. You could tell in the software. People, there was more consoles sold because of the red ring of death. Then you got to explain the software. Every time, just because you lost a console doesn't mean that you go rebuy a game. No. So, and I'm saying that to not get into old arguments, but to say Xbox has already been there. They already know they've already had the blueprint on how to deliver and how to compete. Can I show you again? This is not better. This is not competing. Every year you're still in last place in your major market. Well, we're not in last place like we would. No, this is not better. Competing means neck and neck. All right, you won last year, but we're winning this year, and all that stuff. It's about to get opposite. So the only thing that can beat PlayStation is PlayStation. That's what it's looking like. The only thing that gave you a chance that made you look good those first several months of 2022 was the fact that PlayStation didn't have enough consoles. They didn't have enough supply. That's the only thing that keeps this margin a little bit tighter than what it was last gen. This is the year to prove it. If y'all come out of this year and it looks like this again, and it looks like this again because that ABK deal didn't come through, which I blame on Phil running his damn mouth, and Xbox drops no bangers on the level of PlayStation, Phil has to go. Y'all got to make up your minds. Or y'all going to cap and tap dance for Xbox, or you're going to cap and tap dance for Phil. Because I'm going to tell you, they're not synonymous as far as survival. Phil's agenda could very well be running Xbox into the ground. You got to make a decision. Who's more important, Phil Spencer or Xbox? Y'all don't think like this. Y'all try to make it seem like it's synonymous. No, Phil Spencer's agenda could be, think about this. Let's be real. Could Phil Spencer's agenda be running Xbox as a brand, as a serious gaming brand into the ground? Well, they're making more money. How does that benefit you as a gamer? And if that continues to be devalued year after year after as a gamer, at some point in time, whatever gimmick that they're using to make more money, it's going to fall apart. It's only a matter of time. So you got to ask yourself a question. Am I here for Phil Spencer or am I here for Xbox? Even if you don't want to absorb my speech about you should not be rooting for a company like you do a football team or basketball team. Even if you want to dismiss that, okay, fine. Go ahead and root for X. But who are you rooting for? Are you rooting for Xbox to win or Phil Spencer to win? Because if Phil Spencer wins, that doesn't mean that Xbox wins. And in order for Xbox to win, Phil Spencer might have to lose. Think about it. All right. Let's go back to the comments one last time. He said rooting for the Washington Wizards. That's what they act like, that. They rooting for a team. All right. Next, let's talk about The Last of Us, man. Holy cow. Who saw that first episode? I don't want to spoil it. This is not going to be a spoiler cast. But I just want to say that The Last of Us, the TV show on HBO, was pretty damn good, that first episode. And that's just the beginning. A lot of people are going to be mad at me when I give this ranking, but what you just got to understand, and ask my brother Nethos, I'm just very tough on when it comes to cinema and TV shows and things like that. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I mean, it didn't really do anything wrong. You know what I mean? I think it was a great episode. So my 8.5 out of 10 doesn't mean, that it was horrible, that was bad. No, it was great. It's just the beginning though. There's so much more that they're going to get into, so much more story or whatever that's going to be more compelling. And that's why I can't give it a 10 out of 10. I can't give it a 10 out of 10 because I know that the ceiling is a lot higher for the show. See, I take this rating seriously. So if you can't give something a 10 because you can't go to 20. If I know that the series, because of how the game story plays out, if I know that the storytelling in the game and the possibilities there are higher, I got to leave room for that. So it was an 8.5 out of 10 for me. A 10 out of 10 is going to be likely what we're going to get in these subsequent episodes. So it's a hell of a show. Great show. Can't wait for the next one. The casting was fantastic. But see, this is what's supposed to be expected. Sony is an entertainment company. And when you compare that to Halo, I get that the Halo series did the most on Paramount or whatever. And I think that was because of the nostalgia. And I think a lot of gamers got involved. I think a lot of gamers helped inflate those numbers to where The Last of Us is truly a cinematic TV show, great show for the mainstream who has now a higher ceiling than Halo. I think Halo was just getting a lot of support from the gaming community because they just wanted to see what it was about. And in their estimates, it wasn't horrible. Some people thought it was horrible, whatever. But everyone that I talked to, for the most part, except for those that got to praise all things Microsoft, because they treat them like a sports team, like they're paving their roads and putting up new stop signs and winterizing their homes. This was great. Halo was excellent. Whatever. It just goes to show you that the care and the pride. I always speak about this when it comes to PlayStation. You may not feel like what they're delivering is your cup of tea, and that's fine. That's understandable. I felt that way for a long time. But there's no doubt that PlayStation has gotten better over the years. And there's still room for improvement, don't get me wrong. But there's this pride that they have. This pride of achievement and accomplishment as far as putting that product or service in your hand and you going, wow. Like, that's the standard bearer for the community. And this is what we need Xbox to do. We need Xbox to say, you know what? We don't want to just be the merchants of diversity and inclusion. Those things are important. But when it comes to a product or a service, there's levels to this. Shout out to Doc Dark. There's levels to this. Level one has to be putting that product or that service in somebody's hand and them going, wow. There has to be that type of pride and that proudness within the Xbox camp that this is the type of stuff that we're going to deliver. We don't want people to say it's good and that we want to flush money out there to try to push an agenda and push people into. We want it to be undeniable. Because that what was happening. Like in 2022, everybody was like, yeah, Xbox is the standard bearer with Game Pass. They got to get Game Pass. And then PlayStation drops a game and everybody's like, wow. Okay, I digress. I shut up. That's what you have to do. And they put so much pride in everything. And there's just not that culture at Xbox. Like you could just tell by the end result of Last of Us and the end result of Halo and how it's being received. There has to be, it's like Microsoft feels like whether a game is successful or not is out of their control. They feel like it's the luck of the draw. That's the feeling that I get, that they're going to do the best that they know with the assets that they have. They're going to try the best with what they know, with the knowledge base obtained, and they're going to put it out there, and they're going to cross their fingers and go, please, 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 and wish for the best. That's what I feel is the operator's Miranda of Xbox. Where PlayStation is like, we know the things that's going to make you go wow. It's our job to ensure that we operate to that standard because we have people that understand that. Yoshida, when he told the people developing the first God of War, no, you got to put this back in the oven. Cory Barlog and them, you got to redo this. And now you see it with Neil Druckmann, executive producing, writing, and being involved here. Like that attitude is like it cascades from the top down over at PlayStation/Sony. And Microsoft needs to embed that in its Xbox brand. If Xbox wants to achieve, they're not going to achieve just because they have the money. Gaming is different. They're not going to achieve because they have the money. Gaming is different. If they don't produce, if they don't start operating by the same standards, if they don't make their if they don't make their MO, we have to make people say wow when they get this in their hands. It's over. It's over for them it's over eventually. And this is just a delayed death. Cold Blood Sensei says, they should not be proud. I still don't get my $500 worth from the PlayStation 5. No stopping and delivering is what I expect from Sony. Be humble, do more, never go back to the Kaz Hirai days. Well, and I can understand that. I agree with you. Like PlayStation isn't perfect. No way, no shape, form, or fashion. And there's still room for improvement. I don't think, like I still even, like to me, my favorite gaming generation was the 360, a recent memory. This is nowhere near what Xbox was delivering in the 360 generation that we're getting from PlayStation, I feel. But I think there's a pride in their games that they're delivering now. There's some things that they're scaling back on, definitely. Because we got to be honest here. PlayStation has been taken out of the hands of the Japanese, has been handed to the Europeans. to Jim Ryan and Herm Hulst. Why? Because they're seem to be more savvy, frugal businessmen. And PlayStation looked at the fact that even though they were destroying, 2018 is the reason for a lot of this cold blood. 2019, I mean. So, but you can think back to 2018 was one of the biggest years in gaming ever because of PlayStation. They killed it with God of War and Spider-Man. But financially, they couldn't follow up and keep that same success moving upwards. So they took a hit in the stock price. There was a whole bunch of issues that were going on, right? And that's what orchestrated this whole Sean Layton had to go thing. They put Yoshida in the basement to look over the indies. Like, they really made a serious change because they felt like, look, if we can deliver the quality, or at least 80% of the quality that we're used to deliver, and we just have something happening on a consistent basis, and we have the fiscal discipline of an Xbox. That's one thing Xbox is good at, is fiscal discipline. They ain't got nothing to do with their damn games and the quality of their output. But if we have the fiscal discipline that Xbox has exerted or shown from 2013 to, I want to say, all the way up to 2018, then we'll be unstoppable. So this is what PlayStation is trying to mimic. They're trying to mimic that fiscal responsibility along with finding ways to still deliver their products. That's why you don't feel like that you're getting the full blast of what you normally get from PlayStation. And that's why I say there's room for improvement. I'm not saying that the Jim Ryan regime is perfect, but at the very least, but the one thing you can be thankful for is that PlayStation was smart enough not to fall for the rhetoric that was being blasted at them 24/7. You got to do what Xbox is doing. You got to do what's Xbox. Can you imagine that? What if they did give in? What if they did drop the games day and date? And what's it called? I mean, the disaster that would have been for PlayStation. I mean, as a gamer, at first we would love that, but it's not sustainable. So it only would have led to disaster down the road. So kudos to PlayStation. You know, it wasn't a perfect scenario. We weren't going to get it, but it is what it is. So, but again, to my original point, shout out to PlayStation for everything that they're touching now, man. Like, they know, I feel confidence in what they're doing, that they can do more, but we're getting a reliable product. At least we're getting it from somebody, from someone, in a reliable brand that has pride. Instead of going, oh, okay, we put this out here. Okay, please, 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 baby Jesus, please. All right. Now on to our final topic, which is Forspoken, man. Holy cow. Let me see if I can find this. Give me a second here. Hold on. I'm gonna find this. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. Give me a second, y'all. I thought I had the link recorded already, and I didn't. I just got to go into my replies here on Twitter so we can talk about it. Here we go. Jeez Louise. Hot Jiminy Crickets. All right, y'all. So feast your eyes on this. Shout out to my homie J Wags 412. These are the specs for Forspoken. Now, granted, I want to show y'all something. Let me get out of here real quick. Show y'all something. I am not somebody that is hating. I'm not one of those haters of Forspoken. I'm going to go back here. I want to show you guys something. This is my thoughts on the Forspoken demo, where I tell people I think y'all need to chillax because y'all are sitting there hating on this game, and I think y'all are hating on this game for the wrong reasons. I'm having a blast with it, blah blah blah, and I give my reasons why. So I'm a proponent for Forspoken. I'm enjoying the game, the demo. I play it regularly, and I'm gonna get into some more. I gotta put some more footage out there too. That it's just that the visuals weren't so great, so it was hard for me to put, because I do my quality stream series. It was hard for me to put more stuff out there. But with this, I'm getting the game on PlayStation 5 possibly, but I wouldn't mind playing it on PC, especially if it was available for GeForce Now. We're talking about GeForce Now coming out with the Ultimate tier, 64 teraflops, 4080 comparable output. So if this was coming out on PC and it was going to be available for GeForce Now, I would have got it there. But we'll see. But man, for an RPG, these are the specs. And I know my brother J-Dub is running wild out there talking smack. But this to me is wild. So if you want to be able to play it at 720p 30 frames per second, for 720p you need a 1060. This is why I say the last 2 generations of NVIDIA cards were poopity scoop. The 10 series and the 20 series were poopity scoop. Particularly the 20 series. The 20 series was a waste of time, I feel. But you need a GeForce 1060. That card is only what? Okay, it is 5 years old. I'm going to say about 5 years old. Okay. So, but still, 720p 30 frames per second. You need a 360. You need a 1060. Holy, that's the best you can do. You need an i7 3770. Wow, the processor isn't that hard, but golly. All right, so this is the thing that gets me, because this is the boat that I'm in. Now I have an i7 9700K, I believe it is. For my 9700K, and I have a GTX 3070 with 8 gigabytes. The best I can get is 1440p at 30 frames per second. 30 frames per second at 1440p. So if I want 60 frames, I gotta, maybe I can get it at 1080p. But 30 frames per second, what? I can't even get 60? And I need an SSD drive of 150 gigabytes more. But this is what really blew my mind. So if you want 4K 60, you need a 12th generation i7. You need the just released 4080. You need also an NVMe SSD of 150 gigabytes or more. Holy ish. I think this is the biggest stunner right here. Wow. There's a lot to be said about Square Enix's optimization of PC games, like they're not the best at it. You ain't lying. With a 3070, the best you can get is 1440p 30? To me, that's insanity. That's absolute insanity. So, it sucks, y'all. It looks like y'all gonna have to have a PlayStation, but I'm wondering how it's gonna look on PlayStation. And not to say anything against PlayStation. PlayStation is more than a competent enough machine. Deathloop looks fantastic on there. If you don't know, go check out my Deathloop streams on MM2K Gaming on YouTube. Jesus Christ. But holy cow, man, that's I don't know. That's a lot to bear. And like I said, this middle one is the one that is concerning to me. Is that with a 3070, the best I can get, and an i7 8700, the best I can get is 1440p 30 frames per second. I get I'm not going to get 4K. So that means that with my 3080, I can't even get 4K 30. That's what that means. If I can't get 1440p 60, then that means I can't get 4K 30. Like, I can't even do it in 4K. That's great. That's insanity to me. Cold Blood Sensei says, PC guy is about to screech unoptimized. Well, I hate to say it, man. That kind of... But I'm going to say this too, though. To be honest with you, though. I'm going to say this. The last 3 generations, what that proves to you is that the 10 series, the 20 series, and the 30 series were a waste. That's partially it. They were waste. They were just money grabs. And really, the only card that I think, the only series of cards that I think are worth it are the 40 series. But Square Enix doesn't get off the hook, Cold Blood. I'm sorry, brother. Because you need a 4080 and a 12th generation i7, and you need NVMe SSD 150 in order to get 4K 60. See that? Nah, that's an optimization there. Because the 40 series are serious. The 30, because I have a 3070, and just a few months after I got it, the damn Far Cry 6, I didn't have enough virtual memory to download the HD textures anymore. That's absurd. So I'm gonna say the 10 series, the 20 series, definitely the 20 series. 20 series was ultimate money grab, was an ultimate waste. And the 30 series were wastes. This 40 series is serious. And the fact that you need like the 4070 Ti, I don't, nope. 12th gen, and you need a 12th generation i7? Nope. Unbelievable. That right there is speaking in optimization. So if the PC guys are screaming at, they're doing it rightfully so. But I mean, the only thing I can say is, hopefully, they optimize. Well, PlayStation is funding this game for all intents and purposes. I think it's gonna play better there. But so thank God I got my PlayStation. But Jesus Christ. Well, and if it does come to PC, if it comes to GeForce Now, then I'm Gucci. And that's another reason why GeForce Now is fantastic. I'm Gucci. That ultimate tier. Woo! Perfectimo. Can you imagine trying to play this on xCloud? you would just see like a stroke of fire. That's it. And a black screen. All right. Well, that's it. From your boy. I appreciate all of y'all. Thank y'all so much. Again, for those that are watching this on demand, if you want to know, how people like Vet, Cold Blood Sensei, Ron Slusher, and others were able to get their comments read on screen, that's because they joined the live session. The live session airs every Monday. We try to get it done anywhere between 11 or get it started by 11 or 12 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you're following us, you will get the notifications. If you're following me on Twitter, you'll get the notifications. The rebroadcast, of course, we try to air every Wednesday, like around 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But again, if you want to be part of that live show, you got to join us on Twitch. With that said, thank you everybody for coming through. Another great show. I got to get ready for an important meeting, and then I got to get the heck out of here. But until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Peace.